We've all dreamed about playing for our favorite teams, but only a select few have actually done it. Joe Musgrove was traded to the Padres and threw the franchise's first ever no-hitter. Joe Mauer played his entire Hall of Fame caliber career for his hometown Minnesota Twins. But the player we're talking about today dealt with a level of hype that only a select few have ever experienced. That player is Jason Heyward.
Fly ball, shallow left center, Heyward coming, dives, did he catch it? Yes! What a grab by Heyward to end the game!
Just look at this article title, Why Jason Heyward is the Next Willie Mays. Pretty bold statement for a prospect, but if you read the rest of the article, it doesn't even mention Willie Mays apart from the title. Still, you have to be pretty good to even have your name next to Willie Mays in any context. The hype was real, and for Jason Heyward, this hype began at an early age. Jason Heyward decided early on that he wanted to play baseball for the rest of his life. Growing up as an Atlanta Braves fan, it's pretty easy to see why. This team was filled with stars like Chipper Jones, Andrew Jones, Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, and John Smoltz. Speaking of Smoltz, one time Heyward's dad, Eugene, was driving them both back home. Jason changed the radio station to listen to the Braves game. His dad said to change the station back to finish the Stevie Wonder song they were just listening to. Jason replied, "Smoltz is pitching, I'm not changing." His dad told him to get out of the car and walk the 45-minute hike home. And that's what he did. The GMC Suburban Heyward's dad was driving had racked up quite the amount of miles throughout Heyward's baseball journey. For many years, Heyward's father arranged his schedule to cater towards his son's baseball training. He'd wake up at 3 a.m., drive 90 minutes to work, and 8 hours later drive all the way back to pick up Jason from school. Afterwards, they drove another hour to go to the East Cobb Baseball Complex, one of the country's premier youth baseball facilities. Many future MLB players have spent time at this complex, including Javi Baez, Dansby Swanson, Zach Wheeler, and Buster Posey. This was a major time commitment for anyone, especially for a teenager. So every year, Heyward's father asked Jason the same question. Are you still having fun? The fun of the game never subsided for Heyward, saying the more he played baseball, the more he wanted to work at it. Between a few different travel ball teams, Heyward estimates he was playing about 200 games a year between the ages of 14 and 16, which doesn't include the 1,000 swings per week he was taking while training with his father. But the hard work was paying off, as noted by personal hitting trainer CJ Stewart, who said Heyward was the best 15 to 16-year-old player he'd ever seen. Someone else who was excited to see Heyward succeed was his good friend and high school teammate, Andrew Wilmot. These two were best friends, and they won the 2005 state championship together. Wilmot wasn't the star Heyward was, but he was a model teammate with a great work ethic. Wilmot graduated a year ahead of Heyward, but they remained friends. However, unfortunately, during Wilmot's time in college, tragedy struck.
In October of 2006, in his first semester at a Tennessee community college, Wilmot lost control of his car, swerved into oncoming traffic, and was killed. He was 18 years old. Tammy Rustin, a single mother, had lost her only child, but she stayed committed to her students, and Heyward committed himself to looking after his friend's mom.
Jason was the kind of kid that would always make sure I was okay, you know, before class. You okay? You having a good day?
She lost her son, and for her to still be in the same school that he went to and come back and teach, I say it takes a lot to do so. So, I was appreciative of that.
Heyward and Wilmot's mother, who was Heyward's senior year literature teacher, maintained a close friendship, but Heyward wanted to do more to keep his friend's memory alive. So when Heyward reached the majors, he chose the number 22, the number Wilmot wore on his uniform. Heyward has worn this number throughout his entire tenure in MLB.
He said he wanted to do something for me that would stick forever. He said every time you see that 22 on a jersey or a t-shirt or whatever, you'll know that's your 22.
After his senior year, Heyward was pursued by many colleges, but when the Braves selected him at 14th overall, he signed with them, receiving a $1.7 million signing bonus. His scouting report was seemingly spotless. A toolsy left-handed hitter who had the chance to hit for average and power while providing solid defense. What was his biggest weakness? He was too patient, which just meant he was a very selective hitter. Although it was said it could be the result of not seeing any good pitches, which, funny enough, is likely part of the reason why Heyward fell to number 14 overall in the first place. Let me explain. The Braves actually knew of Heyward when he was 11 years old. A coach for a team Heyward played against happened to be a part-time Atlanta Braves scout. His name was Al Getz. He said Heyward looked like a 17-year-old on a pee-wee field. Getz told full-time Braves scout Rob English about the 11-year-old Heyward, saying he knew he sounded crazy, but they needed to stay in touch with him. Years later, during a private workout the Braves set up with Heyward, he left team personnel in shock. They ranked him as the best player in the draft, ahead of guys like David Price and Josh Vitters, who were drafted 1st and 3rd overall respectively. But no other team viewed Heyward as highly as the Braves did. Why? To sum it all up, the Braves kept their interest in Heyward very secret. Teams scout other scouts, so if another team scout notices the Braves attending a bunch of games featuring Heyward, they're going to catch on. Getz even went to the extreme of dressing in dark clothes and watching games from the woods behind the field. Also, when Heyward began playing in high school, he started walking way more because teams just wouldn't pitch to him, which meant less hitting reps and more questions than answers for scouts. Scouts didn't watch him play summer ball either because at the time, once the draft ended, teams sent their scouts to watch pro players, despite the fact the most competitive prospect games were now in the summer, thanks to the rise of travel baseball. But because the Braves had known of Heyward before high school, they knew how good he really was. But Heyward's dad had another theory. Because of the Braves' relationship with the people of the East Cobb baseball complex, they had more eyes and ears on the local players, but also potential involvement on what information comes out of the complex. For example, Heyward's height and weight listed him as skinnier and shorter than he really was for quite a long time. His dad believed an East Cobb coach intentionally did this, as the coach was someone Braves scouting director Roy Clark called, quote, a big friend of the Braves. One general manager said the Braves had a history of doing this, with examples including Adam Wainwright, Jeff Francoeur, and Brian McCann. Nonetheless, it's not like other teams didn't express interest in Heyward, but there was really only one team the Braves needed to worry about. That team was the Florida Marlins with the 12th overall pick. Marlins scout Brian Bridges said Heyward swung the bat just like Hall of Famer Willie McCovey, but the Marlins ultimately decided to pick third baseman Matt Dominguez. Bridges said this was the sickest he'd ever been as a scout. But don't feel bad for the Marlins, because they drafted a prospect by the name of Mike Stanton in the 2nd round, better known today as Giancarlo Stanton. Although the Braves did draft Freddie Freeman in the 2nd round too. But it's not a competition. Heyward rose through the minor leagues pretty quickly, and the hype grew every step of the way. In 2+ seasons, Heyward displayed contact, power, speed, plate discipline, and fielding ability. This is why ahead of the 2010 season, Heyward was near unanimously considered the #1 overall prospect in MLB, ahead of one of the most hyped up prospects ever, Steven Strasburg. The hype only grew with Heyward's performances in 2010 spring training, leading to longtime Braves coach Bobby Dews to compare Heyward to Hank Aaron. Well, on 2010 opening day, Heyward was named the starting right fielder and caught the ceremonial first pitch, which was thrown by Hank Aaron. Heyward's father called it almost symbolic, saying it's like passing the ball to the next Braves right fielder. Well, in the bottom of the 1st inning, in front of 53,000 people, including a giant group of Heyward's family and friends, Heyward stepped up to the plate for the first time.
Swing and drive! Belted right! Welcome to the show!
everything Heyward worked for led to this moment. In front of a hometown crowd with the number 22 on his back, Heyward accomplished what every baseball fan has once dreamed of. If this was a movie, this would be the climax, and we wouldn't know what happens to Heyward for the rest of his career. But this isn't a movie, and Heyward has had quite the career. His rookie year was incredibly successful, finishing the year as an All-Star and second in Rookie of the Year voting. Prior to Heyward's 2010 season, the last two rookies to end a season with an OPS plus of at least 130 were Albert Pujols and Jeff Bagwell. However, after this season, Heyward never quite turned into an offensive superstar, but he became a great defender, winning 2 of his 5 Gold Gloves in Atlanta. After the 2014 season, Heyward was traded to the Cardinals, but he ended up signing an 8-year deal with the Cubs after the 2015 season. As a Cub, he's a 2-time Gold Glover and was an integral part in the Cubs' Game 7 comeback in the 2016 World Series, but not with his play on the field. Heyward gave an impassioned speech during a late-inning rain delay that kick-started their 10th inning comeback to win it all. He's also been the most consistent defensive right fielder in baseball since his debut season. Even in recent seasons, his defensive ability has barely slowed down. Funny enough, early scouting reports rated Heyward's defense as average, with his offensive tools making him the intriguing prospect he once was. 15 years later, Heyward is known as a great defender whose bat never truly came to fruition. Heyward was compared to guys like Aaron, Mays, McCovey, and many other big names, only to seemingly not live up to those expectations. But realistically, those are expectations virtually no one is going to live up to. Make no mistake, Heyward has had a fantastic career, regardless of the names he was once compared to. All the hard work paid off, and Heyward never stopped having fun. And that's what truly matters most. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like if you did, and subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks for watching.